Good morning. Welcome to our fire ceremony. We'll begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, dearest friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, Divine Mother, come into our hearts, dispel any fear, any doubt, that your love is guiding us and purifying us. Help us to feel the sweetness and tenderness of your love. And teach us to share that love through kindness with all. Om. Peace. Amen.
Welcome to our fire ceremony. One way of thinking of the fire ceremony is transition. So you were coming into the church, opening the door, passing through the foyer, leaving the hat of your attachments, the coat of your karma, and stepping into the inner kingdom within. The fire ceremony is an opportunity to let go of all the things that too much of the time preoccupy our thoughts and our actions, and to turn within. We'll be chanting along with a recording of Swami Kriyananda, the Gayatri mantra for enlightenment, and the Mahamrityunjaya mantra for liberation. And as we chant each chant 7 times, we'll be offering first ghee into the flames, symbolic of our heart's aspirations, and then rice, which is symbolic of the seeds of our past karma, offering them into the flames, offering them into the light of purification to free us from the obstacles that keep us from experiencing the divine within, and to help us to focus our thoughts inwardly.
Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयममृतात् स्वाहा.
Use your hands to draw the energy.
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयममृतात् स्वाहा. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयममृतात् स्वाहा. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयममृतात् स्वाहा. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयममृतात् स्वाहा. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयममृतात् स्वाहा. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयममृतात् स्वाहा.
Now chanting Om Swaha 3 times. Om Swaha. Om Swaha. Om Swaha.
And now we'll have a brief meditation which will lead into our Sunday service. The voice of God calls us to awake in Him. How will He find us when He comes?
Awake and ready. And when He asks us to dedicate ourselves more perfectly, how will He find us? Awake and ready. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Keshwar, beloved Guru, Paramahamsa Yogananda, saints of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. Divine Mother, be with us in these challenging times. Help us to feel thy presence. Help us to know thy will. Help us to share thy love. Help us to bring joy to all. Om. Amen. Now Cindy will lead us in some chanting, taking us into meditation.
This first chant is Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe this next chant that will lead us into meditation is fill my body, fill my spirit, fill me with the sound of Om. Fill me with the sound of
remaining in a meditative state. Just listen to these words from Swami Ananda's affirmations for self-healing. This week, number 22, Truthfulness. Truthfulness is not caustic statements of unpleasant facts and unflattering opinions. Such statements are usually born of pride. But truthfulness is the effort always to see the divine truth behind appearances. It is the effort to express always that aspect of truth which may prove the most beneficial. Truthfulness as applied to ourselves means not to hide behind self-flattering justifications, to look honestly at our real motives for doing anything and not to flinch before unpleasant realities in ourselves. Truthfulness means seeing things as they really are, but then looking more deeply for ways to improve those realities. Say our affirmation responsively, repeating what I say first loudly with strength and energy, and then gradually more softly, but still with energy. Whatever is simply is.
Whatever is simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Knowing that at the heart of everything,
Knowing that at the heart of everything,
God's truth is always good.
God's truth is always good.
A little more softly now. Whatever is simply is.
Whatever is simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Knowing that at the heart of everything,
Knowing that at the heart of everything,
God's truth is always good.
God's truth is always good.
Now, in a whisper, whatever is simply is.
Whatever is simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Knowing that at the heart of everything,
Knowing that at the heart of everything,
God's truth is always good.
God's truth is always good.
And now silently, whatever is simply is.
Whatever is simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth. Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. And once more, taking it deep into the superconscious, whatever is simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Pray silently with me. Heavenly Father, I will not fear the truth, for I know that truth comes from Thee. Help me to see behind all appearances Thy smiling, all-compassionate gaze. Oh, peace. Our reading from Rays of the One Light. Again, number 22, the inner kingdom. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Ananda. Most people imagine that the inner kingdom, as Jesus described it, lacks the fascination they attribute to sense life, the bright lights, the diverse attractions, the joys and the laughter. Little do they realize what a vast universe exists in their own selves. There are many passages in the Old and New Testaments of the Bible that describe aspects of this inner kingdom. In the book of Genesis, we read, "And the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." Genesis 2:8 and 9. This garden was in no earthly place. It exists even now in the very self of every human being. The legend of Adam and Eve is allegorical. It describes how the first human beings dissipated their spiritual energy centered in the spine. The spine is the channel through which flows the river of baptism and of spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita tells us, the wise speak of an eternal Ashvata tree with its roots above and its branches below. The tree of life, spoken of also in Genesis, is the spine. Its roots are above in the brain's energy. Its branches are the outward spreading nervous system. When the sap, which is to say the energy, flows downward, the consciousness is drawn into delusion. On the other hand, when the energy is drawn upward in deep meditation, the consciousness is drawn towards its eternal source, God, and is at last united with Him. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita therefore urges his chief disciple Arjuna to embrace the yoga science, the path of meditation. The yogi, he says, is greater than the ascetic, greater than even than the followers of the paths of wisdom, jnana yoga, or of action, karma yoga. Be thou, O Arjuna, a yogi. For those who would find the divine truth, Krishna gives this description of the yogi. Steadfast, a lamp burns, sheltered from the wind. Steadfastly meditating, solitary, such is the likeness of the yogi's mind. Shut from sense storms and burning bright to heaven. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning. My name is Pavani, and this is my husband Vajra, and we're joined by Cindy and Joanne and Surendra and Lorna. Thanks to them. Vajra and I will both be sharing this morning. The word kingdom in the title of our reading today evoked a childhood memory for me. Sunday evenings, sitting, watching TV with my family, the weekly Disney program, and the opening, which had the iconic castle, and the music, When You Wish Upon a Star. And we know that's Cinderella's castle, and she and the prince, of course, live happily ever after. And as we become adults, we know that we realize we don't live happily ever after. And so I was thinking, how is it that an archetypal image like that endures if we know it's not true? Perhaps it's because it's not outwardly true, but it's inwardly true. So our inner kingdoms, the destiny we have in our inner kingdoms is ever new bliss, or living happily ever after. And the song, When You Wish Upon a Star, makes no difference who you are. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. What is the star? The inner star, the spiritual eye. And that is where all of our dreams and our fulfillments will come true. Swami Kriyananda writes further about the inner kingdom, that every human being is a veritable kingdom in himself. His soul, acting through the ego, which is the soul identified with the body, reigns supreme. And the multifarious qualities of his personality are the citizenry, each one with its distinct personality. So we are made up of a multitude of traits, positive and negative. And some of those traits contribute to the overall welfare of the kingdom, and some of those traits do not. And so we experience this cross current of energy in ourselves that can make progress difficult. He also says that the citizens of a kingdom can be inspired to live together in productive harmony if the king sets them an example of justice, both firm and kind, inspired by magnetic aspiration toward high ideals. And that the same may be said of our inner kingdoms, when our egos are uplifted by noble aspiration, they inspire all our mental citizens with a desire for upliftment also. The need seldom arises then to police them. Their virtue increases of its own accord as the energy and consciousness in the body flow toward the brain. Now, this is something that I have seen that's very obvious working with children. For the past several years, I've been teaching dance and performing arts at the Living Wisdom School here, teaching boys and girls separately. And I remember a boys' class of 4th through 8th grade boys, and they were like teaching puppies. They had so much physical energy, and to try to focus and contain them enough to do anything was challenging. And then they decided that they wanted to work with swords. So I thought, okay, maybe let's create a dance with medieval knights and focusing on their nobility and bravery. And so it was a whole process. I found wooden swords from a craftsman in Vermont who made them out of repurposed barnwood. And so each sword was unique. And of course, before I would let the boys use the swords, they had to prove to me that they had enough physical self-control. And they picked knight names such as Sir Matthew, Sir Thomas. And I even did a ceremony with them when they finally earned using their swords, where they knelt. They wanted to do this, which surprised me. They knelt before me and I took the sword, like it would, on each shoulder, and dubbed them their knight name. And we studied the Code of Chivalry and so on. And it was notable because these boys that would rather end up in a pile on top of each other on the floor performed this dance with absolute control and poise and dignity and nobility. And so it was like an archetypal image had been activated in them, and it inspired them. And so all of their energies, their citizenry, as we say, were able to channel in one direction, and they were able to be focused. So that's why, right now especially, it's important for us to try to do things that inspire us, because it helps to automatically, without even trying, pull together all those cross currents of energy into one upward flow. Yesterday morning, I was sitting to meditate, and I was feeling agitated and a little bit discouraged. And this doesn't always happen, but I started doing a few of the meditation techniques, and within a short time, I was absolutely calm, and my energy was flowing upward, and I had an unexpected experience. It was of sweetness, the sweetness of God. And I thought, well, I I guess that makes sense. You look around you right now and you see family and friends and strangers being sweeter and kinder and more generous with each other. And so, relationships often get sweeter in times of adversity. And so it makes sense that our relationship with the divine can also become sweeter during this time. One of the most direct ways to experience this sweetness with the divine is through the sound of Om. Om is the cosmic vibration, the sound of the cosmic vibration that has created everything. It's in everything. And it's everywhere. It's in the sounds you hear of the birds, it's in the wind, it's in the beating of your heart, it's in the silence of your soul. Swami Bharat wrote a book called Om, the Melody of Love, and I highly recommend it, especially during this time. It has practical and inspiring stories and visualizations and philosophy that really help you experience the power of Om, both to protect us and to connect to the divine within us and in all creation. There's a story he tells in the book when he's in Hawaii and he goes to a beach and there's 10-foot waves. But he sees that beyond the waves, there's this whole group of swimmers that are in very peaceful water. And he wants to swim out and be with them. So he starts out into the water, and within a short time, he's pummeled and pounded, and crawls back up to the beach, just like a drowned rat. And he stands up and he's still looking at them, wanting to be able to swim out there. And a man who he called the waterman was observing him and walked over and introduced himself and said, "I can help you be able to swim those waves." He said, "You swim out until you come to a wave, and then when you get there, you dive down underneath the wave, and when it's passed, you come back up to the surface, and then you swim quickly to the next wave, and then dive down and come back up." And he added with a smile that you should keep your arms and hands in front of you, just in case you get pummeled to the seafloor when you go under the wave. And so Bharat took his advice, and within a short time found himself out with all those swimmers in the peaceful part of the water. And he writes, "When I tried to fight my way through the high Hawaiian surf, I was defeated. But when I dived beneath the waves, the surf's power over me vanished. Remember the waterman's sage advice. When creation's waves loom above you, threatening you with their apparent destructive power, dive beneath them." Let us all dive into our inner kingdoms and live happily ever after. Close with a reading from Whispers from Eternity. Teach me, O Father, to find Thee in the cave of my heart, that I may walk with Thee everywhere. Teach me to hear Thee in silence, that I may hear Thy voice beneath outer noises. Teach me to find Thee in inner peace, that I may be with Thee calmly in the midst of outer tumult. Hubbub or silence, tumult or peace, I care not, so long as Thou wilt teach me to find Thee anywhere and any time. God bless you.
would say good morning, but since I don't know when you'll be watching this, I'll say good day or good evening as the case may be. I thought I would share a few thoughts with you, scrawled on the back of my virtual napkin, about the inner kingdom. Yesterday I went to the locksmith to have some keys made. His name is Gil, and he was telling me of his situation, all too typical these days. He has a tiny little kiosk in the middle of a parking lot of a strip mall, and he pays $3,000 a month for that tiny little kiosk to run his business. And he's 3 months behind on the rent already. That's $9,000. And his landlord informed him that once the restrictions are lifted, he'll have 6 months to catch up. Well, that's virtually impossible. He lives from month to month, week to week. He's got no business, and he's going to come out of this with an insurmountable debt. He was telling me that he's thinking about giving us 30 days notice and operating his business out of the back of his van. Part of his business is as a mobile locksmith for when you lock yourself out of your car. Many of us are having that same thought. How is this possible? How do I find myself in this situation? This can't be happening. Today's affirmation offers a more useful way of looking at these challenges. It starts with seeing things as they really are. No good hiding from it, it's there. But then, looking more deeply for ways to improve those realities. The effort always to see the divine truth behind appearances. Seeing the divine truth behind appearances. The other day I was watching Bharat online, great saint, listening to him tell a story of someone he knew of who was a priest who went to Russia with missionary zeal to bring Christ to the Russians, and found himself in a position of being asked to be a spy and refusing. He was sent to Siberia, hard labor, miserable, unthinkable conditions for 15 years. 15 years. He languished in Siberia. He had the great blessing of being able to turn inwardly to God. Otherwise, he never would have survived. How is he able to do that? By living in the inner kingdom. At one point, the head of the camp showed up at his cell with 10 guards, and they dragged him out, presumably to shoot him, to execute him. And he thought, well, this is the end of it. And he had this great peace descend on him. And he saw the 10 guards who were about to shoot him as angels. All he could see was the angelic light that surrounded the whole situation. That was what awaited him in the inner kingdom, despite all appearances. He wasn't shot, and eventually he was released. Masters tell us, seek ye first the kingdom of God. The Swami's, Yogananda's book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, over and over he demonstrates how well that works, sometimes in defiance of all logic. And all these things will be added unto you. And all these things will be added unto you. Will we get what we want? Ultimately, yes, we will get what we want. Will it look like what we thought we needed? Well, that's another story. What we ultimately want beneath it all is God's joy. What we think we want in the moment can be far from it. It can be the worst thing for us. That's why we need to turn to the inner kingdom. I also listened online to Devashi, who told the story of being in India, and he was very accustomed to seeing what many Westerners find really almost unbearable, which is beggars everywhere, street urchins running around, people in the most horrible possible conditions, with absolutely nothing, begging for something, and you're helpless to do anything. It's part of life in India. In this particular case, he saw one man, and even though he was used to it, it just got to him. An old man, physically disabled, selling pencils, no hope. And he couldn't help but say, Divine Mother, how can you let this be? And inwardly, he immediately received her answer. What he heard intuitively was, I give to each one exactly what they need. I give to each one exactly what they need. It may not be ours to reason why, it may not be ours to make sense of it, but somehow, some way, that was exactly what he needed. As things are slowly starting to reopen, I'm noticing changes in people. People are more aware of each other instead of being just focused on the tunnel vision of their own concerns. They notice social distancing, so people are seeing when somebody else is there, mindful of the distance, keeping away from each other. People are giving space. People are attentive. They're paying attention to where they are in the moment. They're concerned about each other. I had a conversation with another contractor who could at best be described as cantankerous. Our last conversation ended very rudely and very abruptly. Well, I had reason to call him, this was quite a long time, a couple of years later, and to ask him a question. And so I called him, what a difference. I apologized for our last conversation, and he was, oh no, really it was my fault, I am so sorry. At the end of the conversation, we had a really nice connection. At the end of the conversation, take care, be safe. People say be safe these days. That term, be safe, it has a note of concern. Take care of yourself. I care about you. I don't want bad things to happen to you. Be safe. That's a concern that you didn't often see before all this happened. Is it possible that God's trying to show us something? Is it possible that all of this has a deeper purpose? Joe Tish's Touch of Light from yesterday was Taking Charge of Your Life. It's an interesting title at a time when the tendency is to feel absolutely helpless in the face of things. And he talks about different approaches to taking charge of your life depending on where you are on the evolutionary scale of being self-aware. For the spiritual aspirant, he talks about seeing God as the true doer in all things. He talks about striving for longer, deeper, guru-given meditations. The inner kingdom. He talks about filling your heart with love for God, seeing Him in everything, in everyone. This is what all of this is tending to bring out in people, tending to feel that they were indifferent to before. All of a sudden they're starting to be more sensitive to that. So many things outwardly these days just don't seem to work. I've experienced that in my own maintenance type work. It's been amazing. The one thing I can be certain of when I'm confronted with two possible choices is that it really doesn't matter, because whichever one I end up choosing, it's going to be the wrong choice. That's the only certainty of it. And then I'll have to proceed and I'll have to deal with it. It's just a given. When I do get something right, it's because I made a mistake. And I'll go through a long process of dealing with the maintenance issue, and at almost the very end of it, I realized that I needn't have done any of that. The problem was something altogether different. That was a complete waste of time. What was it? Was there maybe something in that I needed to experience? I have noticed that what works best is if I go along with the game. Say, okay, Divine Mother, you're playing with me. Okay, let's see where this goes. What I've noticed is that things have a way of turning out okay. Sometimes in spite of my efforts, but they tend to turn out okay. The other thing I realize is that none of this really matters. All our activities, all our outward activities, all our outward accomplishments. If you're watching this, you probably already have that suspicion. That's why you're turning to spiritual input. As Swami Kriyananda said in one of his sweetest songs, life is a dream. Swami talks about a dream that he had that was a lucid dream being where you realize that you're having a dream. And in this dream, he found himself flying. And he thought to himself, am I really flying, or is this a dream? So he analyzed the situation and came to the logical conclusion that what he was experiencing was, in fact, reality. It was just unusual. He goes on to say, time like a stream in that same song, life is a dream, time like a stream carries our burdens away. This Leela, this play, doesn't go on forever. Our burdens will pass. This too shall pass is the phrase. I looked that up. It's not exactly stated that way in the Bible, but in 2 Corinthians it says, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. This too shall pass. This Leela, this play is, after all, just for our education and entertainment. I love that. And after all, is it God's fault that we tend to be slow learners and that we're not easily amused? Well, maybe. God, you made me this way. Let's show a little responsibility here. Help me out. Complain to God. Actually, he likes it when we do that. When we complain to God, it's a way of opening ourselves to him. It's a way of connecting with him. Take your troubles to God. Let him know, hey, help me out. What are we going to do with this? What is it that I need to be doing? How do I need to be feeling? What do I need to be thinking? Give me a break. He will. I strongly recommend in all of this that you tune into Ananda online, ananda.org. There you will find insight, inspiration, hope, joy. It's all there for the taking in abundance. I also recommend Kriya Yoga. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, even a little practice of this inward religion will free you from dire fears and colossal sufferings. That's not a platitude, it's a guarantee. As Yogananda said to one of his disciples who was feeling downhearted about the results of his efforts, it takes very, very, very good karma to even want to know God. Again, from Jyotisha's Touch of Light, we are all God's children, learning our appropriate lessons in the school of life, and coming to know that God's love is always with us. He won't judge us, but he very well may nudge us.
can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend.
And now we'll have our offering. You're welcome to donate online at our website or mail in your donation. And anything you feel to give is deeply appreciated. Please take what you would like to offer and hold it in your right hand and pray with me. Divine Mother, we offer to thee the fruit of our labors.
We offer to thee the fruit of our labors.
Bless this offering.
Bless this offering.
That it serve as a channel of thy light.
That it serve as a channel of thy light.
To truth-seeking souls everywhere.
To truth-seeking souls everywhere.
Om.
Om.
Peace. Amen.
Let's close with a prayer. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, beloved God,
beloved
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Pavani Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashai,
Vajra Mahashai,
Swami Shri Jeshwarji,
Swami Shri,
beloved Master,
beloved Master,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
humbly we bow at thy feet.
humbly we bow at thy feet.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
may thy love shine forever
may thy light shine forever
on the sanctuary of our devotion,
on the sanctuary of our devotion,
and may we be able
and may we be able
to awaken thy love
to awaken thy love
in all hearts.
in all hearts.
Om.
Om.
Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Go out
With joy.